This is your host, Swapnil Bhartiya, and welcome to TFiR Let's Talk. And today we have with us Dean Agron, CEO of Oxeye. And today we are going to talk about kind of increased concerns around, of course, cybersecurity, security of cloud-native applications, especially given the changes in the geopolitical scenarios. So, Dean, if I ask you, just in the light of not only this geopolitical change there, to be honest with you, we have been talking about cloud security for a long time. In recent time, it has become a serious topic, but because of this crisis, now there is a renewed interest. What are you seeing? How much companies are worried about security, or how much they should be worried about security? The fact is, everybody wants security, but who are actually doing it in practice? So I want to hear your insights.
So the way I see it, I think it is mainly brought to a broader discussion because it is out there. There are, there are hackers, there are hacktivist groups, there are script kiddies, there are APTs campaign, and eventually organizations treat cybersecurity with a layered approach. And when it comes to cloud, which, cloud applications, cloud infrastructure, everything is there, then there must be a layered approach towards, protecting against the threats that are just, rising all the time.
How different is cloud native application security? This is a kind of myth. Remember when people start embracing cloud, you're like, hey, you know what? Once you move to the cloud, you don't have to worry about security. You have to worry about security when you're running application in your on-prem or your old system. But the fact is that is not true. AWS is not responsible for all those things. They just provide you with the infrastructure. You have to manage that. So can you also talk about how real are threats to cloud application? First part. Second part is, how is securing cloud applications different than traditional applications?
So I would say that first, I think the threats are real. I would say, you have the cloud vendors, and they are, they take a major part of securing the infrastructure. But as always, it's a layered approach. It's not enough. Because if you want to protect the code that your developers have written, you can't trust your cloud provider to do that. You need to deploy additional solutions to do that. And that requires, for that you need additional layers of application security solutions. So again, you have the cloud vendors who provide protection over the infrastructure. But again, if you want the extra protection and if you want to protect the application that you've written within your organization, then you need to cover these also with additional solutions.
Cloud has a lot of moving parts, a lot of different components. When we talk about cloud security, we are not looking at one monolith. We talk about API security, we talk about malicious traffic. There are so many different things. So when we look at cloud applications, what kind of threats are there? How different are they than just attacking an application?
So when it comes to cloud native applications, I think the challenge here is in the distribution, because it's no longer a code on a server, but multiple components. Some were built in-house, some are third-party, some are managed services, and they all work together, and they should all work in harmony. But securing them, requires first to understand what, who's in the party, and then, what have they brought with them. So I think that's the visibility, or I think first there's a need to understand what is there, what is a cloud native application, what is it is built out, the software bill of material, the building blocks. I think that's the starting point for securing an application.
Now let's just look at the last few months. What kind of threats you have seen in the space? Of course, log was there, other things. What kind of patterns are you seeing? Is this something similar or some new breed of threats there?
So I think Log4j was something that we were all, concerned about, that there is that vulnerable package that everyone uses, and it was out there. And I wouldn't say unfortunately, but Log4j is yesterday's news. And I think what is brought to awareness, the need for governance, the need that when you find a vulnerability, when a vulnerability will be out, and there will be another Log4j, the issue, you've been, the issue would be how to overcome these challenges as fast as possible, because these challenges would come, security challenges, they may be in the code, they may be in the infrastructure, but the capability of focusing on the most critical ones, once you found them, I think that's the game changer here. Not because threats will always be there and there will be new threats, but the scale is much wider or much higher, and then it's a long list, and you need to know with what you start, what you spend the weekend on. I think that will be, and that's why you see all context-aware solutions, which means these are solutions that are focusing on what is right now dangerous and can cause harm to the organization if exploited.
Since you brought up solutions, I would like to know what is Oxeye doing to help, what kind of solutions? I mean, we have spoken to you folks earlier also, but especially now, how are you helping customers secure their cloud applications?
So Oxeye focuses on helping AppSec teams to discover the app, to understand how is it built, what are the building blocks, how they communicate with one another, and then prioritize the vulnerabilities, because finding the vulnerabilities is in the discovery phase, but prioritizing them using context, and that's where Oxeye a context a vulnerability assessment engine comes to play. This is when Oxeye actually focus on the exploitable vulnerabilities, and I'm talking about code vulnerabilities, vulnerable third-party packages, hard-coded secrets, but the one that are currently in running code, the one that are currently sits on misconfigured infrastructures, and that's what we focus on: understanding the app and focusing on the vulnerable, on the exploitable vulnerabilities. And then Oxeye provides the developers and the AppSec teams what they were used to receive from SAST, DAST, IAST, and SCA all together, which is the line of code, how to reproduce, what the application flow looks like, and what is the dangerous or the vulnerable package. Oxeye actually takes the market of application security testing and reshape it towards modern applications by taking all these technologies into one product.
As you also rightly said, and I fully agree, that security is more or less like a process, not a product. It's ongoing. You have to constantly keep up with that, which also means that, irrespective of what the new threats are coming, irrespective of what kind of products are there, it also needs a kind of change within culture itself. It's also about how things are done. So can you also talk about what should organizations do, kind of improve their processes internally to just improve their security posture? They cannot fully rely on all these tools.
Right. It's process, it's people, and I believe that in many organizations that we speak, the AppSec team is part of the R&D team. So it's not only that you have an AppSec team under the CISO or under the VP R&D, but you also have security champions who are ex-AppSec that are now part of the R&D team, and they work together. They collaborate with the AppSec on the one hand and with the R&D on the other, and that's where you lower the friction between these two groups, because AppSec doesn't really know what the application looks like, and R&D doesn't really know what a SQL injection is. So you need the middleman, and these are the security champions, the product security, the DevSecOps teams that helps both sides reach an understanding, and I think that's a major progress in the structure of security teams that I think will help easing the process of vulnerability resolving.
Do you think that there will be increase in cyber attacks? Should we be more worried about it, especially given this change in geopolitical situation? Or so, and if yes, how companies can prepare themselves?
So it's rough times. It's rough times in multiple layers. When it comes to cybersecurity, I think we will keep seeing the increase in cyber attacks, because it's attribution is very hard. It's very hard to understand who made the attack, yet the effect is can be sometimes painful. I believe that it's another tool in the toolbox of everyone who wants to cause harm, and that's something that as security vendors, we chose the side of the protectors, which is very important, and we need to do the best to provide companies and organizations the maximum ability to to defend themselves from such attacks, because it's on the rise and it will keep rising. Now I think it's seeing more of like a sunlight, but it's out there for a while now. But it's bringing it to the main conversation, I think, will just contribute to the to making everyone safer, using better tools, building better programs to secure themselves. So I think we are headed to, on the one hand, there is rise of threats, but on the other there is rise of protection. So I think this continue, I assume, will go on as time will go on. I think it's part of our life, and we just need to understand that.
Dean, thank you so much for taking time out today and talk about once again this topic. And it's always pleasure to have you folks here on Teams on the show. So I would love to have you back on the show. Thank you for your time today.
Swap, thank you very much for your time.